Hi, my name's Denise. I'm a grateful recovering addict. I'd like to take a real quick moment to thank MRCNA and Sally, who's not with us tonight, but she's in our thoughts and prayers, and for asking me to speak. It's always an honor and a privilege, and I don't know how to say no to Narcotics Anonymous, so I said, of course, and then she sent me this series of questions, like it was like a whole worksheet in a text message, asking me all these questions, and I'm like, huh? You know, but she knew the answers. And do you live the NA program? And to the best of my ability, I do. So with that being said, she asked me what I'd like to speak on, and I don't speak on traditions because I never really knew them, but I have some friends that are really have a great understanding of the traditions, and so I always try to learn, you know, and so I chose Tradition 3, and upon reading it in the It Works How and Why, and then out of the basic text, it came to have a whole new understanding for me, and what I got out of it the most was about judgment, you know, how we judge, and I should say I judge. So let me clear that up real quick. And I didn't think of it that way, but I work in the field, and when I first started, I can remember my boss telling me, you can't say that. You don't know. Because I would decide who was going to make it and who wasn't. And she said, you can't say that, you know. And the third tradition speaks about the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. And desire is a non-measurable form. You know, it speaks about that in the book. So I really gave that some thought and said, wow. Yeah, you can't measure. Does anybody in here not have a desire to stop using? And it spoke about that. It said it in the book that when people come in, just them coming into the room, that there must be some kind of willingness or desire. You know, I didn't walk into Narcotics Anonymous thinking, oh yeah, this is where I want to be. I had no clue, you know, what I was walking into because I was in treatment, and I'd never heard of that either. But I loved Narcotics Anonymous the minute I set foot in here, because there was a crew back then in 1995 is when my journey began. I didn't remain clean, but my journey began in Narcotics Anonymous in 1995. And I had a desire to belong to this group of people. That's all I know, is these were some cool people. They had a lot of bling bling. They had beautiful fingernails, and their hair was whipped up, and they were driving cool-ass cars. And I thought, that's what I want to have all of that. And these people have somehow gotten that, and that's what I want. I came from a real sheltered life, so, you know, and military. So it was pretty militant in my household. So I was a little sheltered, and only had that crew of people that I knew, and I moved around, so I never had any roots anywhere. So when I got to Narcotics Anonymous in 1995, you guys were the bomb. And then, of course, I didn't read this stuff back then. I just chanted real loud like you guys, because I believed whatever you said for a little bit, kind of. I believed the words, but I didn't know that this was a program of application. And so I don't even know if I had a desire to... I guess I had a desire to stop using because I kept coming. But that wasn't predominant in my mind. My desire was to have some friends and be a part of something, because most of my life I didn't feel a part of anything. Ever. Not a part of my family, not a part of some group at school, not a part of anything. And that still can creep up on me in recovery. There's days I'll feel like I'm not a part of something, you know, but that's because I'm being judgmental, not because you guys are. And if you are, I don't know it, and it's really none of my business. And I was taught that, and I believe that now. But it matters what I think. And throughout this whole tradition, anybody that has a blinking moment of desire is welcome. And I was thinking about my specific area and how we don't embrace that newcomer when they're walking through the door. You know, I'm not bashing my area because I love it, and that's where all my people are. That's my family. But there's some things we could improve on, you know. And I remember sitting in those, when I was I think I had about 2 years in the program, not clean, but in the program. And I remember somebody had said something to me that just hurt my feelings so terribly. And I thought, oh man, what a judgmental group of assholes, man. And I cried. So I said, well, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm out of here. And I ran to the other fellowship. And I sat around there for 2 miserable years. I was miserable because I didn't hear a message that struck my spirit or my soul. I heard a lot of gratitude, and I heard a lot of drunkalogs. I heard a lot of that, but I didn't know until I left there and came back to Narcotics Anonymous that this was a program of application. You know, it was all about stuff to me. I wanted the stuff you guys had, and I didn't know how to get it. And then somebody kindly explained to me, Denise, you have to learn how to apply these principles in all your affairs. I said, huh? I was a slow learn. I mean, a slow learn. And, you know, I used to sit in the rooms. Every night I was at a meeting. And, you know, they'd say, alcohol is a drug, period. I was like the top one to the top of my lungs. So you'd notice me and hear me. And you know what? That didn't mean a dang word to me at all. Because when I relapsed, that's what I relapsed with, was alcohol. And it never occurred to me that alcohol is a drug, period. It was like, whoop. And so I came back. And, you know, every single person in that room hugged me and loved me. And there was a few that had something to say. And that was okay. You know, one guy, I'll never forget it because I make sure I don't do this anymore. He said, I could have told you when I saw you that Saturday morning you were going to go get drunk. I said, well, why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't know I was. You know, and my disease splits, and that's why I like our statement that we give where we don't talk about one drug over another, but my brain separated and said, well, because I had another form of substance that I liked a whole lot, and the drinking was the preliminary stuff. So my brain separated those. And I thought I could do that, you know, and I can't, and that's okay. I don't want to anymore. You know, I just don't want to. I have a desire to stay clean just for today, and I've been able to put some time together, and it's taken me a long time, and it's been a hard road traveled. But, you know, if it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't be where I am. And I mean that from every part of my soul and being. You know, I have a family today, and none of you can get rid of me. Sorry. You can. I return like a bad penny, you know. I'm not going anywhere. And you don't have to, no, you do have to speak to me. If you just want to not speak to me, okay, but my feelings are hurt, and I'm still going to speak to you, you know, because that's what you guys taught me. You know, you taught me that. And so I do the next right thing for the next right reason, and it's not to make me above or less than or supreme. I just learned a spiritual connection in here that says, you know, my mother used to always say, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. And so I would say, oh, Sean, you know, I'm going to give you this. And then I'd sit around and wait for him to give me something back. And when he didn't, I would be very angry because that doesn't work. That's saying stupid. But then I had a sponsor who told me, it doesn't come from the person you maybe gave it to, Denise. It might come somewhere else. Oh, thank you, Jesus, they told me that, because I'll tell you what, I had a lot of resentments coming in here, a lot of resentments. And then I continued to build them when I got in here. But I try to keep it as simple as possible now, Denise, do you have a desire to stay clean just for today? And absolutely I do. And then tomorrow I'll worry about tomorrow, But I know some things. I know how to apply things today and say, hey, my brain is really being squirrely, and I was thinking about, and somebody tells me, okay, did you play the tape all the way through? Oh, yeah. See, my tape clicks now. If it's about a substance of any kind, my tape clicks in immediately. I thought I'd never see that day. I would listen to you guys tell how it runs its course. You automatically remember how it used to be. And I never remembered nothing. They said, you don't forget your last high. Well, I remembered my last high, but it was fun. So what do you mean, don't forget my last? I was lost. But I found out what that meant, as a result of a relapse. And our book talks about how relapse can be a jarring experience, and it certainly was. And I now know the tape plays all the way through the minute I think about it, And if I feel off base in any kind of way, I just stick to the basics. Surrender. Have a desire today, Denise? Yeah. As long as you have a desire. And then my wildest dreams, not my wildest dreams would I have imagined that I'd, A, be speaking at MRCNA, B, that I would be where I'm at today. And I don't know where I want to be. I don't know where I want to be. I just want to be happy, joyous, and free, and some peace and serenity, and I'm cool. Where is that? I mean, where's the destination of that? Is it in the Bahamas or Key West? Where it's right here, right now. And I learned how to do that. Stay in the moment, stay at peace for today. If I'm having a difficult time, talk to somebody or write about it. Journal. Oh, geez. And my journaling would start out, with a whole lot of cuss words and big letters, and you couldn't barely read it, and I would just write, and the next thing I would know, I was writing a letter to my higher power, because I was so broken and so tired of feeling so negative and hateful and spiteful and mean and all those things and confused that, and it was everybody else's fault, so I had to write to them and tell them how it was all their fault, but don't give them the letter, Denise. Whatever you do, don't give them the letter. So I learned that journaling thing was very helpful, and it continued to help me to just for today not use any drugs. And that's as simple as it gets. Tell a newcomer that. Are there any newcomers here tonight? Well, you're all the most important people in here as far as I'm concerned anyway. But welcome, And I hope you maintain your desire that I can't measure, that none of us can measure the next guy's desire. What's the level of desire for you? I can't measure that. And so that resonates in my mind now, and I work in a detox center, so, they're real early, and they're real raw, and they come in, and I still, until I got this topic, I was still like, they don't want this. They're not ready. They don't have a clue what it's going to take. Okay, Denise, so maybe they don't. And what exactly is that to you? Well, because see that character defect that I have, that I want to save everybody, thank God some of that has really dissipated a lot. And for those that know me know that is a true statement. I don't try to save people and rescue people. You're entitled to your level of pain, whatever that is. I can't measure what your level of pain is. I just know that if you were at the level I was at, and I can tell by what you're telling me, you don't have to go any lower. and I'll try to help you. But if you choose to go lower, okay. It's your pain, and everybody in this room that is from my area and sponsors and best buddies and everybody in here allowed me my pain. And it was painful because I could not hear the method that you guys used to become happy, joyous, and free. And I didn't know how to do that. And so I always said, well, I just won't use today. And if that's as good as it gets, and I remembered that in the book, the successful day is a day clean. Wow. So I've had a lot of successful days. And that's, my measurement of success is very different than what your measurement of success is probably. But I've learned to accept that too. And sometimes I find myself comparing, wow, they've only been here for this long and look where they're at, and I've been here this long and look where I'm at, and I'm okay. If God forbid anything happens to me, if I'm gone tomorrow, y'all, I beyond my wildest dreams, and my only dream for real when I was a little girl was to be a counselor. That I want to be a psychiatrist, but they're kind of crazy. Sorry if there's any psychiatrists in here, but and so I changed my mind, and I thought, well, I'll be just a little crazy, and I'll be a counselor. So I managed to do that in recovery. I managed to do that, beyond my wildest dreams. My stepdad, I came from a family that was pretty, they spoke a lot of oxymorons, and I didn't understand that shit either, but it was, that's what you get for thinking. And then when I'd say I thought, well, that's what you get for thinking, and then I didn't think, and that's what you get for not thinking, and those kinds of messages, growing up, that's what I grew up with. So he always told me I was going to be an educated idiot, because I loved school. I love school. I would go back to school if I could afford it. The field doesn't pay well. Anybody getting any ideas? It does not pay well. But well enough for me, because I live within my means. I've got more money than I've ever had in my life. And I used to have a large income with 2 people. A large. I don't have that kind of money on paper, but I've never lived this well. And I take care of myself, I support myself. And I pay all my bills. And I come to MRCNA and pay for it all by myself. It's like, wow, this is amazing. Who would have thought? See, that never ever came into play for me. I never thought about that. So, putting together the tradition and Beyond My Wildest Dreams theme, I've never lived life this good. Never. And if I go tomorrow, my dreams have been all fulfilled. Right? My kids are great. And I think, wow, really? Given the life you lived, how'd you get so good? But I taught them I did teach them things. And then I have 3 beautiful granddaughters. And they're all smart, and they're doing well, and they're happy I'm their Gigi, and it doesn't get any better than this. It just doesn't get any better than this. So I'm not going to hold you up. I know we have another speaker, and I'm excited to hear him speak. And I just am so grateful, and I never know why my higher power puts it in my pathway to speak on certain things. But I know today why he had me speak on this, because I found over the last month that I'm trying not to judge people at their level of desire. I'm not trying to judge people at any level if I can help it, not at all. If you're using, I judge that, and I'm not hanging out with you. Sorry, because I have a desire to stay clean just for today. And with that, I'll close out. My name's Denise. I'm a grateful recovering addict. Thank you.
Okay, our second speaker is George S.
Annie, call George. Annie. So, and not to contradict what you said, please, but there's a little story I want to share first before I get into this. This lake back here, Lake Bel Air, there was 4 of us going skiing one morning. We used to come up here all the time. My friend Greg had a cottage up here, and it was one morning, and the water's like flat as a flat could be, and there's a fisherman out there that we're going to destroy his morning, and because we're going to go skiing, and there's a loon doing its loon noise, and Paul's backing the boat into the water, and he's part of my story tonight too, and Greg's standing between Pat and I, and he says, and we're looking at this, and we're just all feeling so great, and he says, and it gets better than this. And then, guess what? It just did. Because I get the opportunity to be here. I get the opportunity and the privilege to carry the message of this recovery process and to be there for that newcomer that might have just a smidgen of a desire. Just a smidgen. I didn't have a desire to be clean when I walked into Narcotics Anonymous. I really did not have that desire. I had a desire to stop hurting. I had a desire to get people off my ass. My desire was not to change my way of life. I just wanted to find a way to live that way of life without the pain and paranoia that I experienced. Hi. And so many wonderful people here. Thank you for being here tonight. I was thinking about my past and it's funny how we go to our different literature when you're going to speak on something, right? You always go to your literature and you go to your higher power. And I got the Guiding Principles one, our newest book on the 12 traditions. As I was reading on the third tradition, I was thinking of those people in my past that I judged myself, that continued to relapse over and over and over and over. And I was the judge and jury thinking, oh, they're never going to make it. I'm not going to spend no more time on this person. And how sad that is. And I do not do that today. I try to help others to understand how painful and how much that hurts the addict that might have that smidgen of a desire. I learned that same guy, Paul, he's not with us today, but he decided to pick up and go back out quite some time ago, long before he passed away. And I lived in northern Michigan at the time, and every time I would drive back down to Bay City for the weekend and what have you, I would call him up. I would say, hey, dude, I'm coming into town, 8 o'clock meeting, and he would laugh, and I would laugh, and I just always hoped that one day he might say, yeah, come on, pick me up, or yeah, I'll meet you there. And that's what I still try to practice that. I agree. I don't go hang out with those that are using today, but I don't rate them out of my life today. I reach out to them. I let them know that I'm still here waiting for them, but that Narcotics Anonymous is still here, hoping that they'll come back so that we can shed them with lots of love and help share the tools with them and help get more tools from them. And a while back, I started making this bigger effort to. My home group has a lot of treatment people come to it, and there's usually 3 or 4 treatment centers every Tuesday night at it. And I make an effort to walk around that room and introduce myself and welcome them to Narcotics Anonymous, because I remember at my very first meeting, I was the guy that sat way away from people, and this guy named Rick. He's gone now too, Rick Rittenhouse. He come walking up to me, he says, and he started talking to me. And I was scared that I was shaking. But he made a connection with me, and I felt like somebody recognized that I needed to be here. I didn't feel like I needed to be there, but somebody recognized that in me, and they invited me to come back. And so I try to do that today. I try to make sure that everybody that walks into my home group, everybody that walks into Narcotics Anonymous is invited. I've introduced myself to as many people as I possibly could already today, not knowing who they were. And some of them knowing who they were, but forgotten their name. So I just call you brother or sister at that point. You know, I'm losing my memory or what have you. The third tradition, I was also thinking about how do I practice that in my home? How do I take these traditions and practice, because they're all about relationships. And how do I take this third tradition and practice it in my home today? You know, the only requirement for membership, believe me, there's requirements for membership in my family. Okay, every family, there's these requirements. My requirements are, I need somebody in my life that's honest. I need somebody in my life that will practice empathy with me, that will also be straightforward and tell me what I need to hear, that will support me when I'm going through things. You know, I've struggled with the area of food addiction my whole life, and my wife is not in the program, and she's very loving and supporting, but in this area, she kept saying these little things. See, now she can never hear this, CD. She kept saying these little things that hurt, okay? And she wasn't trying to hurt me. Don't get me wrong. It was the only way she knew how to support me. She was, and so finally, it was my responsibility to take responsibility for myself and say, you know, these things hurt when you say, what I need is empathy and understanding and support. And help me to gain a greater desire to move through this process that I'm struggling with in my life. And that's how I carry it into all my affairs. And it's not just in the meetings. I mean, not just at home. I just hit that. Hopefully I didn't shut it off. Not that important what I have to say anyway. But to carry it every place that I go. And my home group, I don't agree with everything in my home group. I struggle with some things in my home group sometimes. It's way too structured for me sometimes. I like to play and I like to be a little kid. But you know what? The message is heard there because it is so structured. And I have been in sponsorship with the guys that I sponsor that come to my home group and other areas. I talk to them about, let's make sure we reach out to the addict that's still suffering, and that whether they've been here a long time or the person that continues to struggle and going in and out, going in and out, going in. We have some friends that, and we probably all do, that keep relapsing. And there's one, I think he just got out of treatment again, and I think he's probably been in over 20 treatment centers. But I can't wait to see him. But there was a time, maybe around 10 or 12, I'm not sure, where I was like, oh, he's never going to make it. In my inside, I was like giving up on this person. And I don't want to be that person today. I don't want to be the one that gives up on anybody that has this desire to stay clean, or anybody that has this desire to make healthy choices and healthy changes in their life. You know, that's to me what sponsorship's about. We share experience, strength, and hope, right? And that, to me, that's all sponsorship is my experience, my strength, and my hope that you've given me at Narcotics Anonymous. Whether it's, and I try to keep, I have guys come to me with all kinds of different things, whether it be emotional in nature, unspiritual in nature, spiritual in nature, sexual. I mean, most of us that sponsor anybody, that all kinds of things come on us. My responsibility there is to go back to the 12 steps or the 12 traditions of Narcotics Anonymous and remember that I am not a therapist here. I'm somebody to share my experience, strength, and hope about how I've went through these. And when I don't have the answers, it's also my responsibility to say, I know somebody that does, because most of us know somebody that's went through something, okay, and we can guide them in that direction. And I'm grateful that I don't have all the answers today. I was the guy that had all the answers. In fact, I knew exactly how Narcotics Anonymous should be ran, okay, and how you were going to vote, and Mark did the same thing, you know. And I want to read one thing in this book here. The most powerful message we carry is the simple truth of our experience. Our real value is in being ourselves. We are a message of hope. And when you were sharing, and when the speaker earlier, Anna, was sharing, you know, I was thinking, she was sharing her experiences about how these children she had worked with in school came up to her in different places and said, because of you, I'm doing this in my life now. And when I have to remember that when any one of us is sharing at a meeting, and especially I watch the newcomers at my home group, they are just, most of them, not all of them, are just begging for something to get them out of that pain right now. They're listening intently. And so when I'm sharing, somebody's listening. And when I'm not sharing, somebody's watching. You know, what are my actions? What am I doing in my life? How am I carrying myself in a meeting, but also how am I carrying myself at the restaurant after? How am I going to carry myself in the halls here at this hotel this weekend? How am I going to be an example of this program of Narcotics Anonymous and carry the message in all my affairs? I was in the wonderful hot tub down here last night, and the girl that works down there, I thought I saw a page coming a few minutes ago. He was irritating her, but no, I'm kidding. but Paige was down there talking to her, so I got involved in the conversation, and she was a young girl, and I just said, well, have you ever been? Because I could kind of tell she was real interested. She says, yeah, I went for a little while. I was up in Kinross and yada, yada. I says, well, I invited her. I said, please come to some of our meetings this weekend. If you're going to be around here, just step in and sit down and listen. I says, and people are going to reach out and hug you. I says, oh, I know, it's a huggy fellowship, she says. And we are, because of love and the understanding and this might be the last time, because of the nature of this disease, it might be the last time I see you. And also because we're getting old now, too. So being as honest as I can about myself in all of my affairs allows me to not judge. It allows me to have more empathy than judgment. It allows me to get out of my own ego. When I'm honest, it's hard for me to be an ego. And who was I talking to earlier? Oh, I know who I was talking to. I won't call him out, but we were talking about our clean dates. And my original clean date was August 20th. And a bunch of these guys, went to this retreat. And they all, half of them come back with different clean dates. They all got honest at this retreat. And so, I had relapsed on September 1st, and this was 5 years later, and I never told anybody, okay? And so because of their honesty and openness, and me knowing that I accepted them no matter what, I accepted them for who they were and their ability to open up and share that, you know what, this wasn't my real clean date. It helped me. It helped me to sit down at the table and say, this is my real clean date. And talking about honesty, I was thinking about when I first really started. I was very dishonest. Dishonesty because I didn't like who I was. I didn't even want to talk about who I really was. I told you about who I really wanted to be, and I tried to let you know that I was that person already. And and when I finally got to the point of not knowing which lie I had to cover up, and started to get honest, I didn't have a lot to share for a little while. I didn't know how to, because I really didn't know what this person was inside. And the things that I did know, still didn't want to share, so it was easier for me just to be quiet and listen to you, and then go and pick up that ink pen and paper and basic text and start writing on these steps and start writing on these traditions. It was a long time before I wrote on the traditions. I talked about them a lot, but I didn't write on them. And I thank God that I have the sponsor I have now, which has been 20 years this weekend. It's been 20 years. I've had Vito for a sponsor. And he's the one that really got me going on writing on the traditions, and really get the one that got me going on practicing them in all my affairs, and realizing that our traditions are all about the relationships of our life, all about our relationships of our life. So going back to all that, we practice it in our home, our empathy, our honesty, our love, our support, and all that. Well, that's what we need to give to the newcomer. Anybody that has that desire. That's what I try to give to the sponsees I have that have a desire to make a change. If you have a desire to make a change in your life, or if you have a desire to try and understand anything greater that I might understand, or we figure it out together. Thank God it's not a George program. It's a Narcotics Anonymous We program. We tell the newcomers, we don't care what you have or how much you got, only what you want to do about your problem and how we can help. Only what you want to do about your problem and how we can help. And at first, of course, that's that, how do I stop using? How do I stop hurting? How do I get out, some of them, how do I get out of going to prison, How do I get my wife or my husband off me? I try to be there, and I see it happening more and more, at least in my home area, that more and more and more people are reaching out to and maybe it was happening all the time and I was blind to it, I don't know, but I see more and more people reaching out to the newcomer and to the people walking in that are sitting alone by themselves or very quietly off to the side by themselves and seem to have nobody with them. It's my responsibility. The basic text talks about us as the home group being a sponsor, that our home groups are sponsors, and that we need to treat the newcomers and others that way when they come into NA. You're going to have to help me on time because I'll talk forever and nobody will get no sleep tonight, or I'll be by myself probably. Huh? Thank you. The third tradition asks us to examine our motives and beliefs, our trust and ability to love, our open-mindedness, willingness, faith, and courage in carrying the message. And if I can take those into an NA meeting, if I can take those to this convention, if I can take them to any of our outings, I get to carry the message, and what that's really telling me is to be the real me. Be the real me. And the real me, thank God, is somebody that Narcotics Anonymous has taught how to be a loving and caring individual today. And now and because of all that, I get to carry it into my home. And I'm so grateful that NA has taught me how to carry these principles into the relationship I have in my life today. I was just out I was talking to the same guy earlier, and I says, I have no trouble getting down and playing with the little kids, the 3 and 4 and 5 year olds, because I can get down to that level real easy. It's real easy because they have so much openness and love. And when I walk into the room, it's Papa George, And so when I walk into the room of Narcotics Anonymous, and oh my God, a newcomer. How can I carry the message to that person? How can I reach out to them? How can I get down to their level at the moment and not feel like I'm way up here so that they don't feel so damn intimidated? I was scared to death. I was thinking about the people that relapsed, and I was telling you earlier how much I judged for some time and how hard it was for me to believe in them. And the hard part there was because that started because it hurt. You know, you begin building relationships with people in this fellowship, and there's no guarantees here. And some of them go back out and pick back up. And I've lost that. It feels like I've lost. Like there's a grieving that's got to be gone through. And my reaction to that grief was anger to my hurt. And so I would not just judge them, but kind of rate them out of my life. Until some of them started to die, you know. Some of them have started to die. And I don't want to see no more die. You know, it's probably inevitable. But I don't want to see it, and I don't want to be a part of it. So I will do my best and make my commitment to carry this message to any newcomer that walks in today. And be a part of their life in any way I can when they're reaching out to Narcotics Anonymous to help them to get through their pain at the moment, to help to learn how to not pick up that first one so that they don't have to pick up the next one. I got a lot of emotions going on. My mother-in-law is very sick right now, and so there's a lot of emotions going on there. And you know, we might have a house guest real soon. And this fellowship, my first instinct inside is I will 100% support that. I 100% support it. My mother-in-law may be living with us. My second instinct, after I sat down for a little while, was, well, I want to give up my bedroom and my TV and this. See, I get in the way. And so that helped me to check. This has just happened in the last few days. It helps me to check is where's my commitment to the newcomer and where's my commitment to my sponsee relationships. I got a lot of sponsees in the room right now, and I'm so grateful for that. But I also have been checking myself lately in that area where the last few months I've been really, really busy. I mean, I'm supposed to be retired, but, you know, that's not really happening. I'm just a guy that gets Social Security that still works. But where's my commitment? If I'm going to make that commitment to somebody in this fellowship, then I need to make that commitment and be there for them. Just like with the newcomer, if I'm going to make a commitment at my home group, then I need to really make that commitment to be a part of it and to reach out to the newcomer. If I'm going to make a commitment in a marriage or in any other relationship, just my friends, if I'm going to make that commitment, then I need to be there for them in a loving and caring manner. And also remembering that each one of you, as I am with you, we're each other's eyes and ears to this disease of addiction. You're the ones that teach me when I'm not living in line with spiritual principles today. And I thank God that there is that handful of people in my life that are not afraid to say, you know, George, some of the actions you've been living by lately really don't seem to be in guide with the spiritual principles of this fellowship. I'm grateful for those people because those are the things in my life that could put me right back out there. And those are also the things that are not a good reflection of this recovery process, not just to the newcomer sitting at a meeting, but to the hotel guest or any place else. It's my responsibility to try and live these principles in all my affairs and everywhere I go. And, you know, I dated a woman at one point. I'm probably just about done. I dated a woman at one point, and she said, took her to her. We were in Grand Rapids at the convention. We just went down for 2 days. I said, we're on our way home. I says, well, what do you think? She says, you guys are kind of loud, aren't you? And I'm thinking, well, you know, yeah, we are kind of loud sometimes. And then I thought, you know, maybe we need to watch that when we're out in public and out in the restaurants. And sometimes we get pretty carried away. So the last thing I want to read before I close here, because I've been told to shut up, is understanding and accepting ourselves as a gift of recovery. If I can understand and accept myself, why some days is it so hard for me to understand and accept you? Autonomy allows us to express who we are with integrity and to carry a message, the truth of our own experience in our own way. We all have a way to carry this message, and hopefully that I'm learning a little bit more each day to be able to carry this message without judging at the same time, and just carrying the message of hope and freedom and happiness that Narcotics Anonymous has so freely given to me. And I am so grateful. If you haven't tried it or haven't taken a look at, take a look at how can I carry this message at home with my spouse or with my children. You know, what is the desire in this relationship of our home? You know, what am I struggling with at home that this principle might apply? You know, how do I need support, or how can I support in all my affairs? Thank you, MRCNA, for asking me to share. That's all.